Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to play with 3D functions of ArcGIS Pro. All right, our basic project is to create a simple layout that has a 3D view, has a 2D view, and on that 2D view, it has a couple lines that we use for creating profiles. And then in our layout, we're going to have, besides the 2D and the 3D view, we're going to have our actual profile charts on our map. Okay? Our main map that we want our map reader to look is going to be the 3D view, and our overview or inset map, whichever way you want to consider it, will be our 2D version. And then we'll have a couple profile lines, and then you can put some text and stuff like that on your map. So this kind of gives you a quick overview on how to work with a little 3D stuff in ArcGIS Pro. So let's get going. I'll set things up here. We are looking at the country of Haiti, which I'm currently creating a 4-foot by 3-foot map, topographic map, one of my maps that I publish. And when I'm done with it, I'm going to be putting this up on my map store, and it will be free. It will not, this will be one map that I'm not going to charge for. All right, so I have two layers in our table of contents. The first one is the digital elevation model itself, or digital surface model. And I also have the hillshade, which is underneath it. Okay? And if you notice, I clipped both the surface model and the hillshade by the actual boundary of the land for the country of Haiti. Plus, I had it stop at the border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic, because I only want to focus on the Haiti itself. All right. So these are our two layers that we're going to be working with, and we're going to create some profiles and things like that. First of all, we want to symbolize our surface model. So make sure that the surface model is always on top of your hillshade, and click the Symbology, and then come over here to the primary Symbology menu, and you are going to choose some kind of color ramp. And color is kind of important to me. I pick color ramps that are associated with the data that I'm working with to make it more relatable. Since we are using topography, you have all these different ramps that you can choose from. Now, if you're doing mountains that actually have snow on the top, you might choose one of these ramps that ends in a white, so when it renders, it looks like there's snow-capped mountains. However, in Haiti, they don't have snow. So I try to make it as realistic as possible for the map reader in that location. So I'm going to choose this elevation number 3 palette, which doesn't have a white tip at the top. It's just brown. So if I click that, I'm going to get a relief model that only has the highest elevations in variations of this brown. All right. Now, we cannot see our hillshade underneath to make that topography pop, right? So that is just a matter of taking the surface model and applying a transparency to that particular layer. So while we have the digital surface model selected, you come up here to the raster layer appearance, and you come over here to the transparency. And I like to use 50% transparency when I'm doing my elevations. Okay, so if you notice, our bright patterns became a little bit more subdued because there's a transparency modifier associated with that color ramp. All right. Now, if I zoom in, our mountains and things, mountains and valleys and coastline and stuff begin to pop out to us in 3D. All right. So let's go back to our full extent. So now that we have our 2D map kind of set up, in order to create a map layout that has 3D elements and 2D elements that you're working with, I like to set up all my 2D stuff first, all right? Because the next step will take all that 2D stuff and convert it into 3D, all right? Now, we want to create two lines. Maybe we're interested in the Massif de la Salle, which is this mountain range right here, which this is the highest point in Haiti right here. And we may want to do a profile that starts from Port-au-Prince, which is this area right here, up through the mountains and then ending somewhere. Okay? In order to create a profile that I want to do, or the way that I'm going to do it, is I'm going to create a feature class. I'm going to create two feature classes. So what I am going to do is go to the, up here I'm going to go to the View ribbon, and I'm going to choose Catalog pane. And in my catalog over here, I'm going to go to Folders, and I'm going to go down into my Haiti 3D project. And remember, in Arc Pro, it automatically creates, when you create a project, it automatically creates a geodatabase for you to start using. So I'm going to right-click my Haiti 3D geodatabase, and I'm going to go New, Feature Class. And this feature class, we're going to call this Profile 1, and it is going to be a line feature class. All right? And I'm going to just go ahead and click Finish, because I'm not going to add in any field names or anything like that. I just want the line itself. So I'm going to click Finish. And it's going to add to our geodatabase a Profile 1 line feature class. Now I want a second one. I want a Profile 2. So I'm going to go New, Feature Class, and we're going to type in Profile 2. And it is also going to be a line feature class. And I'm going to Finish and let that stay. Okay, now I have my Profile 1 and 2. I want to add them to my project. So I am going to shift both of those, and I'm going to drag those over to my table of contents and release. And now I have Profile 1 and Profile 2 in my project. All right. Now the next step that we wanted to do is we want to take each one of these lines, we want to create the lines for each one of these profiles, all right? So I'm going to go to the Edit ribbon, and I'm going to go select Create, and we get our Create Features menu here, and we have Profile 1 and Profile 2. Of course, there's nothing in either one of those yet. So I'm going to choose Profile 1, and I'm going to choose the line, and I'm going to come down to my map, and I'm going to digitize from, I'm going to left click here. Now I got my little rubber band, and I'm going to go across De La Salle, and I'm going to double click on the other side. So now I have a line that goes all the way across there. So that's my profile line that I'm creating. And I'm going to come up here to save those edits to that feature class. Now I want to work on profile number 2. See, that's a nice thing about a geodatabase. You get all the editable features in your menu that you can just go from one to the other. You don't have to start editing or anything. You just click and do whatever you want and then save it. So let's go to Profile 2 and choose the line tool. And let's go across the main part of the country here. Let's go from the Port-au-Prince Bay and go all the way across these mountains and this plain and across this little this little bay here and go back out to the Caribbean Sea and double click there, and come up and save. Yes. So now I have two lines that are feature classes now. Profile 1, which is down here, and Profile 2, which runs across this part of the country. Now the next step is to assign all the 3D values across those lines. So that is an analysis or view. You can get to it by view as well. So we're going to create Profile 1, and we're going to choose Geoprocessing. And I've typed in Profile before, so you're looking for a tool called Profile. So you type in, spell it correctly first. Type in Profile, and then the Profile tool, Geoprocessing tool comes up, double click, and it's going to open up the menu for that tool. Now it will. Okay, so we're working on Profile number 1. So my in feature is going to be Profile 1, and my Profile ID field, we're just going to use the object ID number for my my Profile ID. For the digital elevation model resolution, we want it to go out to ArcGIS Online and find the finest resolution as possible. Okay, most likely it's going to be either 24 or 30 meter resolution. But we want the finest. If there's a 10 meter or less, it will use it, okay? But we're going to choose the finest, and then we're going to hit run. And what that's going to do over here in our table of contents, it's going to add a new layer called Output Profile, I think is what it says. And as soon as it's done, there it is right there, Output for Profile. Okay. Now, if we did another one, it would create Output Profile again. So what I want to do is I want to rename this one. I'm going to call this one De La Salle, because that's the mountain range we're going across. All right. Now we're going to create Profile 2. And here we have our menu still up, so all we need to do is change that Profile 1 to Profile 2. We're going to still use Object ID. We're still going to use Finest Resolution, and I'm going to hit Run. Now it's doing this green line here. It's creating the profile for that line. Okay, so that takes a little longer because it's going across more of the country, but it doesn't take that long. All right, so now we have Output Profile that we just did going over the main part of the country. So we're going to call this main, we're going to, sorry about that. We're going to slow double click, and we're going to change this to main profile. Okay, and hit enter. So now we can turn off these two profiles here because we don't need them anymore. And we can change the symbology of each one of these. So we're going to do De La Salle. We're going to change that to red and make that a 3-point line. Okay, so now we have a thick red line going across here. Now we're going to choose main profile. Click on the symbol there. And let's change that to a little lighter blue and make that also 3 points across and hit apply. So now we have this blue line. Okay, so now we have our digital elevation model, we have our hill shade, and we have two lines that we've created a profile for. All right, now what we want to do is we want to create a chart of each one of these profiles. All right, so let's start with De La Salle and come up here to feature layer and go to data, and you notice you have create chart. Okay, if we down arrow that down at the bottom, you see profile graph. If we click that, it's going to create a profile line, the topography along this red line. Okay, So we have profile, graph, de la Salle. All right. And here is our beginning elevation at 0 sea level. Here is 2,000 meters right here. And the total distance of that line is a little over 80,000 meters. Okay. So that's what that profile is telling us. Now you can easily go into the graph and change some of this information to help your map reader. So while the properties are set, we're going to go over to general. So we can change maybe the title of it, and we'll say, we'll change profile graph to elevation profile, profile of de la Salle. Okay. Now, horizontal distance, our map reader may not know that those are meters, so we'll just add meter in parentheses, and we'll do the same for elevation. Okay. And we don't need anything else. So if you notice down here in our graph, we have elevation profile for de la Salle, and we have a little m at the end of each one of our axes of our profile. Okay. Now let's do profile 2, or main profile. All right. So we have that added. So there's one profile. Now choose our main profile, go up to feature layer, go to data, and create a chart, a profile graph of that second one. Okay, and so this is main profile, and obviously the graph is a different scale because the line is longer. So we are going from sea level at this point right here up through a little over 1,000 meters, and we're ending at sea level over here. Okay, and that linear distance is quite a bit past 120,000 meters. All right, so again, we can change the text by going over here to general and change this to all we need to do is get rid of the word graph and put the word elevation in front of profile. Elevation profile, main profile, for whatever. I could have come up with a better name than that. And we want to put our little indication of meters after horizontal distance and elevation by just typing that at the end, and then clicking that. And so our profile graphs have changed. Okay, so now we have 2 profiles created. All right, so you can close those. They're still there. They're right up here. Okay, so you can turn those on at any time. So now we have the 2D map done. Now it's time to create our 3D information. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to View, and we're going to convert to a local scene. And what that does is takes our 2D information and creates a 3D scene of that data, that same data. Now, if you notice, our red and blue line, they're kind of chopped up, is because that line is now 3D and it's being hidden by some of the 3D surface. All right. So let's go ahead and turn these lines off for a second. And if you notice down here, it is using a world elevation model that comes from ArcGIS Online. Okay. Now, we can use this to do our 3D view, but if you have your own digital elevation model, you can get rid of this one by right-clicking, remove. Okay. And to add your own digital elevation model, you're going to right-click on ground, add elevation source. Oh, wait a minute. I want to show you something. Now that since I gotten rid of that 3D mesh that's underneath our map, now if I turn these lines, they're going to be solid, just like our 2D view. All right. So let's go ahead and turn those back off. Now, let's add our own digital elevation model. Come down to ground, right click, add elevation source, and we are going to choose our digital elevation model for Haiti. Well, you may not because you won't have the digital elevation model of Haiti. And we're going to click OK. And so now our 3D mesh is going to be based off of my digital elevation model and not ArcGIS. All right. So if I turn on these lines, they'll be all cut up again. All right. Now, since we're in the 3D world, I'm not going to be using these lines for anything. We're going to be using those lines on our 2D version. Okay. Now we have our 3D stuff set up. Let's move around and get to a view that we want our map reader to see. So I'm going to come down here to our navigation wheel, and I'm going to hit this up arrow that gives us all of our axis points that we can move our map around. Okay. Now I'm going to choose this mid ring right here. I'm going to left drag and I'm going to hold that, except actually I want to click on it. We're going to, whoops, it keeps doing that. Why does it do that? I don't want it to do that. Do not select the sphere. I don't want the sphere. Oh, I just want this one. I just want this one. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Okay, here. Would you stop doing that? Why is it doing that? It keeps doing that. I don't want it to do that. All right, this is the one I want. Right. Why? Okay, so nothing, something's going goofy here first. I don't want this. I don't want this. I just want this ring right here. I don't want the whole thing to turn. There we go. Finally, sorry about that. I just grabbed it in the wrong space. All right, so if you're just moving the ring around the globe, it pivots from the center point of the actual extent of your map. If you're choosing the sphere itself, you are the pivot point of the map, if that makes sense to you. So sorry about that. It's just a matter of where you grab the ring. So I just wasted a couple minutes of our time. All right, so using the ring, you can select where you want to view. If you left and right along the ring, it pivots around this point right here. Okay, so here we're going to change our view just by moving this around, and you can pivot certain ways. You can move by moving your arrow in whichever side of this outer ring, it moves it left and right, or you can put your cursor in the map and you can drag and move around. So it just takes a little getting used to the three-dimensional axis, but just play with it. All right, so you want to get your map in a certain view that you want to show your map readers, right? Okay, now if this isn't, if your 3D view isn't dramatic enough and you want maybe some more exaggeration, you can click on the word ground over here and go to appearance, and you'll see vertical exaggeration. Right now we're at 1 times exaggeration, but you can go to 2 to 3, and your exaggeration will be whatever you put into here. Okay, but I just want to, since this is a nice mountainous area, I'm going to just use the one-time exaggeration. I mean, real-time exaggeration. I'm not going to multiply it by anything. So let's pretend that this is the map that you want to show your map reader. Okay. Now it's time to make it the map layout with a 3D view, a 2D view, and then 2 charts showing the profiles of each one of those lines, right? All right, so the next step is to go to go to Insert, sorry, and you want to add a new layout. You want to insert a new layout. So click that and then choose your page size. We're going to use Architectural C, which is 18 by 24. This is the portrait version, and down here is the landscape version. We want to do portrait version, so let's click that. And you're going to get a map layout, and it's a blank piece of paper. Now, what do you want to insert on this blank piece of paper? Well, we have map frames. We have 2 map frames in our project. We have a 2D map and we have a 3D map. First, I want to make my main map is the 3D version. So I'm going to hit this down arrow and I'm going to choose the map that's beside the 3D icon, which is our 3D view. So I'll click that. And now it's going to ask you to make a box where you want that map on your page. So I'm going to go a little bit more in half and make a square by left clicking here, rubber band up, and then release where you want that to end. All right. So that's going to insert our 3D view. Okay. Just like that. Now I click off of that to unselect it. Now I want to create our 2D map frame. So I'm going to add another map frame, and I'm going to choose the map that's beside our 2-dimensional icon, which is this one here. And again, we make a box where we want our 2D version. Okay? So whatever extents that you have these set gets placed inside of each one of those map frames. All right, so here's our 3D view, and here's our 2D view with our 2 profile lines on the map. Okay, so however you have your map frame set up is how they're going to show up inside. All right, now what I want to do is in this open space, I want to put profile 1 here, and I want to put profile 2 down below. So again, we are dealing with map elements, and you're inserting map elements. So our map element that we want to add in now is still in the insert. It is a chart frame. And remember, we have 2 charts that are already set up, and we want the profile. Let's do De La Salle first. So let's click that one. And it's going to ask us where we want to put it. And I'm going to click here, and I'm going to make a box. And it's going to insert our profile inside that box. Okay? Now, you can mess around with the vertical exaggeration by changing the size of the box. So I'm going to drag that down a little bit. And that's going to redraw that. All right, so now our vertical exaggeration isn't as dramatic, and we can set that somewhere on our page. Now, click outside of that. I want to add that second profile that goes across the country. So I'm going to come up here to chart frame again and choose main profile and create a box where I want that profile to show up. And then it's going to go get the data, and it's going to populate that box with the appropriate profile. I want to downplay the exaggeration a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to put that somewhere on my map that I like. And let's move this in because I want to move that over a little bit. Okay, I want to move that so it's not touching my 2D map. Same way with this one. We're going to just kind of drag that in a little bit. Now what I try to do with my profile, especially when I do stack profiles, is like this. I like to line up my ends so they match. Another thing that you could do is you can play around with trying to make your profile lines the exact same length. Then you can line them up one on top of the other to get it more realistic. But since my profiles are in two different, completely different geographic areas, it doesn't matter the vertical exaggeration that you have. All right, so click off of those. So here was a basic 3D. We added a 3D layout. We created a 3D layout and made that our main map. Then we had an overview map showing our profile lines going across our geography. And then we added the two profile charts to our layout. Now you can go in and you can add text, like for instance, you can add titles and maybe A, B at this, and C and D across here. So you can work with text, inserting text and all types of symbols and stuff, north arrows and scale bars. Like, let's add a scale bar for our 3D view. We're going to down arrow and we're going to choose one, and we're going to insert maybe a scale bar up here. Now, the only thing about the scale bar is if we zoom in, we want to make sure that it's tied with the map frame, that it's scaling. So we're going to right click on that scale bar, hit properties, and make sure that this one belongs to map frame 1, which is our 3D map view. Okay, so now our scale goes with this frame, and let's say we want to, let's get rid of that, keep that, zoom into our 2D map, and maybe we want to put a scale bar on there. I like to be consistent, so we're going to go meters, and we are going to add, let's just put it inside our map frame. Click here. So now we have our scale bar for our country of Haiti. And you can do the same thing with north arrows. So let's do a north arrow. Let's choose this north arrow here. And let's put, just for grins, I would place my stuff a little bit better, but this is showing you how you can add elements. So we're going to click here, and here's our north arrow. Now we want to make sure that that north arrow is matching the map frame. So right click, do properties, and we're going to map true north, magnetic north, doesn't matter. Map frame, the 2D map frame is correct. Let's see what happens when we do magnetic north. It will change it a little bit. Okay, then you would signify that that's magnetic north. All right. So that gives you an idea how to add different other elements to your map layout. And now I'm going to go to map layout, go full extents. So you can add text and all types of stuff, maybe a legend, whatever you're interested in. So this video, I know it was pretty long, but it shows you how to add a 3D view, a 2D view, and a couple profiles to a map layout. And then you can play around with other features and then save this as a PDF or a PNG file, JPEG, or whatever, and share it with your friends or your coworkers or part of your job. So I hope some of the stuff I showed you today was helpful, and I hope that you guys subscribe and share and hit that notification bell for future videos, and we will see you on the next one. We'll see you later.